Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to see my seminar today on recruitment in 2023. If you're expecting Kosei talking about cloud-based integrated international business for SMEs, then I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I've overtaken him in the programme. So you've got me instead talking about how recruitment's going to change moving into next year and beyond. So I thought I'd start by just telling everyone where we are now. So as you probably all know, the number of job vacancies in the UK currently is at a record high of 1.3 million in the 3 months leading to May this year. And it's causing problems for everybody in hiring and retaining talent. We've got an ageing population. Older workers are leaving the workforce currently, and have been since obviously the events of the coronavirus, and it's reduced the pool of skilled talent in a number of key industries. The hiring and retention landscape has changed. There are those employers who listen and engage with their employees, and what they need are in a stronger position to ensure that workers stay. According to CIPD, 40% of employers have more than half of their workforce working regularly from home. So we've seen an increase in hybrid working, and getting the mix of home and office working is problematic and can lead to some trust issues. It can also make retention of key staff and recruitment very difficult. The challenges we're facing in 2023, or as we go into 2023, with those difficulties recruiting relevant candidates and attracting those candidates, and ensuring they select working for your business over competitors is a real challenge. And marketing your business and sharing the ideas of what your business stands for really will set you apart. There is a lack of qualified candidates for a number of reasons. Including, we've had the pandemic, we've had Brexit, and there's a lot of people worried about internal talent advisors worrying about skill shortages, and as a result of those labour shortages, companies' top talent are being headhunted more than ever before. And with tools like LinkedIn, it's easier than ever for passive candidates to be approached, and businesses are seeing a bit of a domino effect, whereby one candidate moves to a competitor, and then they're telling their previous colleagues, and they're all leaving to move to the same business. So companies are losing multiple talents at the same time. We're also seeing candidates being cautious of moving due to worries of the economy, worries of losing their jobs in the current market. So we're seeing candidates being a little bit extra cautious about moving around. And a large proportion of recruiters have said that labour shortages were their biggest concern as we move into 2023. And the second biggest challenge is that of skill shortages. So it's evident throughout every industry in the UK and in some areas overseas as well. In terms of what's important to candidates, while salary is still important to candidates, there are other considerations that need to be addressed. Location and commute time issues can be rectified sometimes by hybrid working, but as I've mentioned, that brings its own challenges. However, other benefits and regular employee reviews are also key for attraction and retention. What we've seen as well is, as a result of the challenges businesses see in recruiting and retaining staff, we've seen a number of new trends developing as we go into 2023. Businesses are developing existing and new skills, and in certain circumstances are hiring based on behaviours and attitudes with a training journey to fill skill gaps. So that real kind of development journey of individuals and showing them that pathway. So when you're recruiting, think of what that person might want to do in 6 months' time, in 12 months' time, 18 months' time, and give them a real route, because otherwise you face a real challenge, not only bringing them in, but retaining them, because they are wanting that journey and those developments. So that learning journey can be down to their needs and the recruitment, their business's needs, but they need to sync to make sure that you're shown as being an employer of choice for candidates. And that brings me on to employer branding. So the branding of your business has got to be right as well as you compete for talent, because as there is a high amount of vacancies that are there at the moment, you need to set yourself apart, and you can be competing with some real big players that are known to the candidates. So how do you get those candidates to understand and know about your business? So working to set that employee branding is as important as marketing your business when you're doing sales. Enhanced candidate experience as well can be vital. So understanding all of the checkpoints and all of the touch points of a candidate through the recruitment journey. So from the first interview, from the job advert, make it sound what you want and what you can deliver that candidate. Don't expect them to want to work for your business unless you can give them a real opportunity to develop their skill set. And then everywhere along the point. So, have a real clear process of what that recruitment journey is going to be, so that you can tell them on that first contact it's going to be a 2-stage interview, it's going to be a 3-stage interview, there'll be a psychometric test, whatever that is, so that there's no surprises along the way, and they know the timescales involved as well, because it's very likely that those candidates are being spoken to by other recruiters, by other companies. So you really want to handle and being able to kind of tell them where you are on that journey point, so that they know the timescales involved. Otherwise, you will lose those candidates along the way. One of the key focuses and key trends in 2023 is diversity. A lot of businesses are investing a lot of money to make sure that they are getting diverse talent and having a real kind of focus on ensuring every level of the business has the correct level of diversity. Some businesses are doing specific employee branding and marketing to different areas. So there's areas for women in STEM, LGBTQI. All of these areas they can be specifically marketed to make sure that your diversity needs are being addressed as well. If businesses want to grow, then especially as we see Gen Z coming through, they want to know that they're working for an inclusive business that have a clear diversity plan, so that they're bringing in talent from wherever that might be. Also, we're seeing an increase in AI skills, and I think it's evident from being here at the business show the last couple of days. There's a lot of companies that are doing a lot with data, and kind of the recruitment process is no different. And those businesses that have a real data-driven strategy are able to develop their recruitment processes far better than those who don't. So it's well worth that investment, because I think it pays back pretty quickly, and it will lead to better candidates and better retention as well once they're hired. We're also seeing a lot more humanisation, so where AI is involved in kind of making sure that you've got the right candidates. Once those candidates are there, they want the human touch, the best candidates. So really giving those touch points a human element. So at interview, make it personable. Have a follow-up phone call if necessary, and after the candidate's been placed, in that period between placement and start date, making sure there's touch points there as well, because the amount of candidates that are lost along the way during a notice period to either a counter offer from their current employer or another business talking to them in the meantime, and then they get lost. So having a weekly touch point agreed at that offer stage, and having them involved with whether it's a work night out or a conversation with peer level people or hiring managers or other people they're going to deal with in the business will absolutely keep them engaged and keep them on point for starting at the set date. And it can be even more challenging when you come to 3 and 6 month notice periods as well, and that's where it's even more important, because you don't want to be 2 months into a notice period and lose a candidate with a couple of weeks to go, because the cost of that is huge, both from a financial point of view, but also from an emotional point of view to other people in the business. I mentioned the Gen Z appeal as well when I talked about diversity. You've got to appeal, it's a very different marketplace out there for people coming from Gen Z, as they, more and more of them kind of go through university and move into the workplace. They've got a different requirement and a different need, and some of them have got their own kind of side businesses. That gig economy is very evident, and that came through need during COVID, where they kind of had to earn some money other ways, and a lot of them are quite entrepreneurial, and tapping into that is very important. So employer branding I've touched on previously, but it's key for businesses of all sizes. So large-scale businesses and world-renowned businesses, you might think that it's really easy for them to brand their business. However, it can be difficult to kind of speak to everybody, and from an employer point of view, it can be overlooked. Where I think you will see the most impact is on the smaller size and medium-sized businesses, where they're competing with some of these bigger players for talent, however, because really it's kind of putting yourself against those when you're competing for talent and showing what the appeal is of working with your company over those. You can be a little bit more agile, you can be a little bit more innovative, and a little bit more attractive to potential candidates, and offer something that they might not be able to do, whether that's a kind of real kind of clear plan on where they're going with their career, or just where your business is going as well, and what you can offer, not only from a business perspective, but the other side of things, from more and more of the extra part of it, looking at your environmental plans and whatnot, can help immensely. Over 75% of job seekers nowadays will research employer brand and reputation before they apply. So that's even before they're in that application process, and they can rule you out pretty quickly if they don't feel that your business is of the right ilk for them and don't want their reputation ruined. So it's really worth looking at, and businesses who have a bad reputation find it really hard to attract new talents and to retain hired ones, because there's a real competition, as we mentioned, for key talent. Candidate experience. So this is the process from application through to hire, basically. So even if candidates are unsuccessful, 97% of candidates with a positive experience will refer other candidates to that business if they've had a good experience. And a lot of this tends to come down to communication and feel, and clarity over the process. So as I mentioned earlier, knowing the steps and the stages of the recruitment process at an early stage, and having that consistent will really help give a positive candidate experience. And 55% will actually go onto social media as well and tell their networks, whether it be on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever, Twitter, then they will tell their social networks about that positive experience. It can be a really important hiring element as well. According to Career Arc, a negative hiring experience can have a real detriment to your brand, and can actually stop people buying the products from your brand as well. So according to LinkedIn, Virgin Media found that it cost their business over 5 million from candidates having a bad experience and then not buying their products after those candidate experience, and then telling other people on social media. So it's something to be aware of, that even if a candidate is not going to be starting with your business, just give them that time, that effort to really showcase your business, because it is still marketing. It's still kind of that understanding of there's still that awareness of your business, especially if they haven't had that awareness before. They'll take that away and they'll remember that, so just bear that in mind. AI and data. According to Career Builder, around 72% of employers predict that elements of their talent acquisition will be automated within the next decade, and that's why it's really key that there is that human element still involved. So it's getting that automation to do the right things for the business. There's so many things that you can use data for, as I'm sure you're all aware, but it can look at things like evaluating skill gaps, increasing retention, understanding what the candidates want. There's so many elements that data can provide, but just have that in the back of your head that, whilst that data is really important, make sure that there's an understanding that you've got to keep the human element there and developing what people are looking for, basically. it's going to improve a lot of things from the candidate experience and should make the time to hire a little bit shorter. Data-driven recruiting can help improve your hiring practices, and there's a lot of information that can be key to kind of driving your business planning when it comes to recruitment as well. So if you're not using your data currently, it's well worth investing in that to kind of look at the gaps and making sure you're not hiring the wrong people at the wrong time, because obviously you want value from your recruitment processes, and if you're spending money in the wrong areas, that's going to cause you problems as well and affect your returns.